How will we see kingdom unity without being separated by a critical mass incident in the church? We could call it now the United States of a divided church. I watched a movie a few years ago called Divergent. When the story started to unfold, I realized that this is exactly what the Lord has been doing with a small faction of people inside of a large group. They were called divergents. In this movie, the world has supposedly been destroyed, and an elite group of people has built their own utopia and set up boundaries to keep their survivors quarantined from the outside world. After years of developing their political system and way of life, the new society has been divided into factions. When children grow up, they are to choose a faction, even if it doesn't fit their bloodline. The 5 factions are the erudites, the intelligent, scholastically inclined, philosophical people who search for truth. Amity, the peaceful, simple-minded people who seek harmony above all else. Candor, those who value honesty and order above all else, truth-tellers and interpreters of the law. The dauntless, the brave and the free people who serve as soldiers and police. Abnegation, the selfless, helpers who deny themselves. Between these factions and these factions only did the society remain balanced. Anything else was considered a threat, particularly those individuals called divergents, who displayed multiple characteristics of the other factions, rather than fitting neatly into just one mold. The word simply meant different, but the divergent were frowned upon, and more importantly, they were targeted by the society's elite leaders. But the divergent didn't know that they were different than the others until they took a series of tests. Once they did, everything began to make sense to the divergent because they were able to see beyond the societal boundaries that had been created. While the tests were designed to classify people and make them fit in, they showed the divergent that they would never fit in and that the social elites would never control them. In the movie, they were called divergent. In God's house, they are called the remnant. I am fully convinced that God has raised up and is raising up an army of fiery voices. These people are tested by the Word of God and refined by His holy fire. They are not molded by current cultural trends, but are tempered by the hand of God. Maybe you are one of those divergent voices, a group of wilderness waders, not wanderers, being formed on the backside of the desert while also being called out to the front line of God's army. When these people speak, they don't sound like normal everyday preachers. They are not passive or political. They are powerfully different voices, often misunderstood. These people look like everyone else, but they don't think, act, or sound like anyone else. They are divergent. Divergents have no fear of man, but they are very reverent of God. They are those who live a whatever he says way of life. You can't control them through factions. They are completely surrendered to God. God has them in His quiver, and He is launching His arrows in this new season. The voice of God speaks through these divergents. They are out of step with the world. Don't get me wrong. They know order. They know respect for authority, and they know honor, but they hear a different drumbeat. It is possible that the factioned church will push away these voices that emerge at first, but the divergent will not cease to demand change for God. A revolt may be necessary to bring true and lasting freedom from tyranny to God's people. You may feel as if you don't fit. The current culture will label you as a defect, but God is raising you up as a deliverer. Divergent people have an I don't fit personality. Not only do divergent people not fit in, they may feel as if they are not necessary, and nothing could be further from the truth. They are clearly a remnant. When you have come to the end of a roll while laying carpet, there's a piece that is not used because it just doesn't fit. They call this a remnant. The silent yet numbing inner voice tells you that you aren't necessary. You must silence that thought quickly before it takes root, because it comes from your enemy. People want you to fit into the mold. Do what they do. Speak the way they speak. This is the complete opposite of an emergent divergent.